Take possession of your hard assets and escape the vampire system!
Yes! Find...
having the Westwood video on there. I don't know how that happened. Somewhere here on the backside, I probably figured it out how to add it automatically. So, but we'll see Westwood tomorrow. And then hopefully all of you will be joining us at the meetup in Metamora on Friday. Metamora, Illinois will be there. And I think we're going to Sue's place, which is a little bar there in the in town. So we'll see you guys all there. We're going to jump in with Skullcap and talk about bells, bells, bells. Welcome back, Mr. Skullcap SaVant.
Hi.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
How you doing?
Good. I know when we prep for these shows, we get really excited, and the storyline was you were nailing it and had it such a great timeline and so much information that I really wanted to get it out to the people. So
Okay.
This is a little different. We meant to do this even. We kind of touched on this last week and have been on this trend of frequency and bells and all this. And then, of course, yesterday, the silver bell half ounce came out and was the news everywhere. $750 for a half an ounce of silver. It is numismatic, but that still is quite a jump. And then I have another friend that's metals, and he said he was seeing orders for $19,000 gold by November. So we'll see, are we revaluing and what that looks like in the future. But we're going to go back into the past first and get some history on bells. I'm not sure what you want to start with on this.
Well, let's start where we were starting, just commenting on a topic that Cliff and Jenny were dancing around in their last show. A lot of people who watch this show have probably seen Cliff and Jenny's last interview. That was what was it, 2 weeks ago now? Something like that.
Yeah.
I thought it was a particularly interesting area of concentration that they both kind of danced around for a minute relating to plasma.
Mm-hmm.
And this and plasma and bells are going to intersect with this, with Steganography, as it always does with these shows. Somehow got to tie in how the V-Steg's involved. But this story with plasma and bells, Jenny was mentioning a lot about bells in that conversation. Cliff was mentioning a lot about plasma. And I think there's an opportunity for those two things to have married in the middle and, kind of expand upon the subset of kind of contemplation and pondering they were both doing around them. So I think, in fact, if they were given like another hour in that conversation to let the topic develop, it may have intersected here somewhere. Who's to know? But if you go back and watch that interview, you'll see a couple key moments where Cliff is actually, in response to Jenny's kind of curiosity about bells, he's talking about plasma and how there's actually a level of care that has to be taken when anybody that's a plasma engineer is messing with plasma. They were talking about the missing scientists, remember? And Amy Eskridge specifically. Amy Eskridge is the 22-year, died in 22.
Right.
Who in one of her last interviews she was said to have, she admitted that her parents were paper clippers, which indicates they were probably part of the Germanic
also
reintegration.
talks about anti-gravity and that it is an active working thing.
Well, right. And plasma kind of at the core of what she was investigating. Right. And so Cliff had made a little bit of an astute comment, I think, about how these evil spirits from outside of our perceptive qualities seem to follow around instances of plasma science, plasma engineering, plasma propulsion, whatever might be the topic of the day relating to plasma. And that was kind of where this whole frothing discussion that they had took root, right? And one of the things that I think is interesting in the middle of all of it and tying it together is Nazis, so-called, German paperclip Nazis, as they say, Huntsville, Alabama, where it's still to this day
where Amy lives.
Right, is where a lot of those paperclip scientists kind of housed themselves. They created a unique scientific city that was the heart of the engineering and the rocket propulsion labs and the V2 rockets.
And remember the big issue about who was getting the contract, and then NASA was all pissed off that it went to Huntsville, and there was a lot of moving around in that. And I remember Trump doing that
back in the 50s.
No. I'm talking about just recently.
Oh, you're talking about Space Command. Right. Trump and you're moving ahead in the timeline. Right. So, and how Trump was just recently moving Space Command for Space Force from Colorado definitively to Huntsville, clearly where they've got the infrastructure for it. So all this stuff that's kind of happening in the
how
news.
far Muscle Shoals is from Huntsville.
What's that? Who shoals?
Muscle Shoals. Have you ever seen the documentary about Muscle Shoals?
No.
It's very interesting. They're a lot of our very amazing favorite kind. So these musicians would come in and they wanted to record at Muscle Shoals. And it's like this little dumpy town in Alabama.
Oh, it's a town. It's not a person.
Yeah. No,
okay.
Town.
I thought this guy's name. Somebody had a weird name. Okay,
no.
Sorry.
That would be a weird name, but it's still a weird name for a town. But it's all about like Etta James got her start there. The Beatles came in and wanted to record there specifically in Muscle Shoals.
Okay.
Several people kind of either got their start or came there because something about, and I'm going to say the frequency, but something about recording there made their music different.
Yeah.
So I'm curious now. I've got to look up.
Maybe they operated out of 432 hertz there for all we know instead of 440. So
who knows?
That's interesting. I'll have to pocket that and do some.
Check that out.
Yeah. So back to the thread though. So yeah, Space Command is something in the more recent. We'll get here. We'll actually tie everything back to Trump and what's going on with UFO disclosure and stuff. But bells and plasma were really the two kind of topics that I saw Cliff and Jenny almost like rubbing together like clutch plates on. And because this conversation was so short, that it just never locked into gear, kind of a deal.
Yeah, she loves Patton. And so I had sent her a story or whatever about Patton's bells. And there's a whole history about General Patton and his bells and all of this. And so that's where I'd sent that to her, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to talk to Cliff about this. And then, like you said, when they were talking, it's like they didn't, I don't know. There were two people talking about the same thing, but didn't quite.
Yeah. The clutch didn't quite lock into gear. It was just in neutral, idling the whole time, which I felt like
spiritual warfare probably at its best.
Well, Cliff was responding to her pondering about the bells by going into this whole spiritual warfare thing. And she was really discussing it kind of in concert with the Amy Eskridge line of thought, and they did all intersect. And that's that's as a viewer of the program, that's how I saw it all kind of happen. And I was like, ooh, are they going to go there with bells, the shape of bells, Nazis, tie it all together? They didn't quite go there. So that's why we're picking up the thread for what's interesting about what was, I felt like maybe left on the shelf
Yeah.
in the conversation, right?
Mhm.
So what Cliff was actually telling Jenny was something that he brought back up a couple of times to see if he could gain more depth in, but he was talking about the spiritual danger
Mhm.
that's associated, it seems, with anybody that gets around this stuff. And they speculated a little bit. Is it the government protecting itself and its programs for secrecy? Or maybe are these people that are missing, all of the recent scientists that people are all up in arms about, these exotic sciences engineers that are missing or dead or declared dead because they can't find them? Or are they all collaborating on something? Did they get too close in terms of danger with something, so now they're in witness protect? Who knows?
Oh, no.
So some of that stuff, just as a matter of interest and a matter of pointing out the pattern, Cliff was talking about, especially with nascent technologies. He referenced his dad's work in the Vietnam War again with the red glasses and in the other realm there. How much of that can seep in potentially alongside developing plasma? You know, in other words, igniting the ether into a power source, and you're generating some sort of energy that's non-existent in the materium into the materium, right? You're summoning it. It's alchemy at its finest, right?
Yeah.
It's a really, really sophisticated alchemy experiment, just like all of these old kind of tales with the true alchemists like John Dee, who could call forth maybe even the demonic realm itself to sink ships and stuff in the middle of the British Isles.
Mhm.
What kind of wizardry comes alongside that you have to protect yourself, and blah, blah, blah. That's where I think with the bells themselves, the conversation might have gotten real interesting if they started tying in where the plasma scientists are, missing out of. Amy Eskridge specifically, Huntsville, Alabama, the capital of the Nazi program, of the Operation Paperclip. Then you have something that maybe people in this audience are aware of or not aware of. You have the bell shape of Diglocka, which in Joseph Farrell's book, The Brotherhood of the Bell, the SS Brotherhood of the Bell, he outlines very key figures, engineers that were involved in this, in the engineering of this, all the way back into the First Reich, where Otto von Bismarck was in touch with some sort of an organization here in the United States in the Sonoran Desert. And it's actually chronicled best in Walter Bosley's book. He's got a few different books that chronicle NIMSA, which is a secret science and aerospace program built in our country out of Prussia and then the new First Reich, Germany, when Prussia became Germany through Otto von Bismarck. This was the Civil War period, and there are Germans out on our soil crafting anti-gravity propulsion craft with the generator core where the plasma is originated. I don't know if the camera is going to zoom.
Hold on, let me make you bigger on this, and then
There it is.
I have to choose a different one. There we go.
So here you go. This is what they're calling the generator cone. The device that the plasma inside of the bell or the cone takes shape with in terms of a vortex to create whatever loft that they were devising how to do with these very, very, very early aeronautic UFOs. They call them airships. And you find these airship accounts all over the Old West. These engineers would put them up in the air, and this is way before hot air balloons. This is way before Zeppelins. This is way before airplanes. And there's these unknown craft that would just land in a town in the Old West, and they would need provisions. So a person would walk out, and people were like, "What the hell is this?" And so the tale of the airships went all across the Old West, and it was all driven by a secret type of propulsion that didn't need fuel and took on the shape of a bell. And you fast forward that to the Nazi programs in 1944 that ended up with this bell shape, and you start to wonder, why the bell shape was used at all to create the plasma drives.
Right.
And I
We've been
think
noticing the bell shape like in current events, whether it's the claw that we just had for the UFC fight. It was if you backed up, it was a bell shape. And then you pointed out the artwork that what is his name? Is it Saban?
Sabin.
Sabin.
Sabine.
Is it Sabine or Sabin? I don't know. But he
You're
had
talking
done
about the statue that's coming to Utah,
right.
right?
The World War II, he did that, or World
Yeah.
War I statue memorial, and then he's now built a new memorial about the expanding west, whatever. And I had noticed that there was it looked like a portal. It's the size of a human, and it's just the circle. And I had said, anybody explain to me the circle on top of this without using the word portal? And he replied to me himself and said, it's a wagon wheel.
Expansion westward, yeah.
There were no spokes on that. And
Sabin Howard is the guy's name.
Sabin Howard. Okay. Anyway, brilliant artist, amazing artist. And he's now, they're going, and you brought up the point that he was revealing it at ARC in London, which I want to go into. I've got it pulled up, but if you want to go into a little bit about what ARC is, and maybe I'm jumping way too far ahead because I'm just so excited about how all this ties to what's happening right now.
Yeah. So, we're going to tie it all together with that steganography, the bells, and Sabin Howard will come into that. I wasn't planning on weaving him in, but
it's a huge.
He probably factors in at least because of
even the little silver bell on the back of it. My husband noticed if you zoom in on the clock tower, it has 10 and 2. What time are the hands on?
Yeah. And more appropriately, it probably reads like 1:50 p.m. or something. There could be some way to look at it, and I don't know what that time would mean. But to answer your question before we go way back, to build this back towards Sabin Howard and the weird inclusion of bells lately in the popular media and UFO disclosure right alongside it.
Right.
Because what do you need to get to space? Like what we're talking about, maybe an engine that's shaped like a bell, a plasma drive, right? But ARC is a convention. It's called the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship in London. Sabin's piece is going to be unveiled there. It's ARC for short. The Alliance for Responsible Citizenship is ARC. ARC is also the popularized term for the new balance of world power, America, Russia, China, which is what we're actually moving toward with the current monetary reset in establishing kind of a tripart governing system over the trading and balancing of what the Bank of London used to control out of their exchange traded funds and everything.
Right.
And part and parcel of that, markets will be 24/7 for any asset or commodity. You won't have this weird 8-hour trading cycle where everything gets to pause and then shift to the next market and arbitrage happens. There's something to that with just the monetary aspect of things too. But gold as money, silver as technology is kind of the way it looks like we're going. But back to kind of like this, the bell, and some key things that I think we need to consider about what the real motives of Nazi Germany perhaps were. And a lot of people would just say like world domination is what they were after. And I just don't see it when I look at the other aspect of their hermetic drive to go to the ancient sites, to re-engineer technology of the past, the technology that was lost. I mean, the experimenting with didn't come from nowhere. It came from the spoils of their archaeological expeditions into ancient sites around the world. And back in the ancient world, you know, those that consider the depth of the woo are probably of the mind that we've been on alien control for millennia. And what really happened to us and why we have remnant technology that's destroyed and needs to be found again is because we've been through the ringer under this control of the alien agenda. Religions are built around protecting it. History is falsified to lie about it. Science is reversed so that we never find the true nature of the truth, so we can re-engineer our way out of it. And what the Germans, these pesky Germans that everybody likes to demonize because that's what the history books say, I think the jury is out on what their real motives were and why the United States brought them to Huntsville in the first place. You'll have a guy that Joseph Farrell in this book talks about, and you don't find him very often in mentioned in the science realm. You always hear about like Werner von Braun.
Yes.
When they hear about the V2 rockets. It's interesting, like the Saturn V program. We talk about Saturn's the mind control device, right?
Right.
V is the glyph by which the steganography takes hold. It's like the spell casting aspect of the mind control. It's right there on the rocket, Saturn V, Saturn V. They for one, right? Yeah. I mean, within the grand scheme of the context of the V-Steg, the Nazi paperclip program is a really big component for what's being pulled over your eyes. You have really weird Greek mythology ties in with the Hermetic side. The Nazis take over NASA. They create it. They create the naming conventions. Mercury. What's Mercury? It's Hermes. The Hermetic sciences of Egypt. So they're calling they're programmatically naming the early voyages, if you want to call them explorations into space, the program names after the Hermetic sciences. What are the Apollo programs after that? And you have Werner von Braun, Kennedy. We got Kennedy back in the mix with all this stuff. I've talked to you about the $1 billion bonds, the space bonds with Kennedy's face on them and the NASA rocket program stuff in the back. Yeah. And that's what was really handed behind the scenes to finance all this stuff at the time. But what you'll find is that there's another guy in this book. His name is Kurt Davis. Type him in to a little search engine. Kurt Davis. It's Kurt Debus.
Oh, not Davis.
Daybus with a B.
I was like, I know how to spell Davis. Gotcha.
That's why I was spelling it out. D-E-B-U-S.
Let's see if we can add him to the window or to the screen. Debus.
There he is. Kurt Davis. He was the president of the Kennedy Space Center. He was made the president of the Kennedy Space Center. The Apollo program was his brainchild. And he was also head of NASA's official UFO desk. Yes, they had a UFO desk, and he was in charge of it. So he was, the reason why he was in charge of it is because he was the chief engineer that put all the pieces together for Die Glocke, the Nazi Bell project. And he didn't go with the breakaway Germans when they escaped to Argentina. He was just left behind. I have a really hard time believing that they would just maroon this guy in an island to be captured. You know, and this is where it starts to get weird. Like, what kind of engineered nonsense has had to be blanketed over the eyes of the public for the last 80 years because of the space alien contingent? Pretty easy to just keep demonizing the Nazis, but it seems to me that the Nazis were actually in a serious effort to engineer things to go after our fucking captors up there. And we needed to keep going. We needed production for this stuff. Area 51 comes into the spectrum. Like, why put it underground? Well, if you start putting stuff underground, you can't very easily see it from space. Whoever might be spying on us from the moon. And, you know, why did they go? Blah,
That's
blah, blah,
interesting because Trump just said, we have cameras on every door in Iran, talking about the uranium and all that. And they were like, something about they can't move without us knowing, or something about going through doors. And I thought portal. And so I don't know. Interesting to see how it all kind of plays into today.
Well, it does. I mean, it just breeds more questions upon questions about how involved we still are with those pesky Germans. Oh, we just never could put the exclamation point on what the heck happened after World War II. We claim that we do. I mean, even brilliant writers like Joseph Farrell, he's just utterly convinced about what he calls the Nazi International. It's like the secret governing, domineering, fascist kind of put in their thumb. They're the ones that are architecting all this stuff to this day. And I don't know if that's the case.
But are they the Rothschilds then? Because we're associated with
the financiers. I would argue that we still don't know who that layer is, but the breakaway Nazis might, because in my speculation of things, there's a very good chance that there was a top layer overarching the religious aspects of things already. Right. And what we've learned is a lot of what the religions are is they're cargo cults for space alien captivity. Our minds are too softened because we've refused to go through the trauma of the past to get over the fact that we're subjugated by aliens. We were fucking ravaged. We were fucking destroyed, and our genes were manipulated with, and our lifespans were shortened and all sorts of different terrible shit. And to this day, our very children are being abducted to be eaten by them. You know, like, that's not a place that the average mind likes to go.
No.
So the religion is created as kind of this cargo cult layer that keeps them subdued from ever truly going after and fighting these guys. Call them the Elohim, call them the Mantis. I think the Elohim are just kind of projections of what the Mantis are doing when they interface with us, as I've told you. So it goes back to the bell, though. What Jenny was really getting at in the talk, I think, is what she was trying to get the point across with, is that the bells might be a weapon of sorts against that frequency environment that keeps us down. All the music is retuned to 440 hertz instead of 432 hertz. The Schumann resonance itself is being fucked with by an oscillation pattern around Saturn, the rings being the instrument that's creating all this madness, right? So this only comes to the speculation of the bell shape and the plasma drive that's inside the bell shape. But could it be that in order to even get outside of that soup, you need to resonate outside of it with a bell? You need to resonate outside of this mind control environment, maybe even to see the beings at all.
So that could be some of they are using that like reverse technology to hide their mantis.
Well, that's what I was telling you last time. Time. Yeah. It's all about time, right? Saturn is the planet of time, chronology. So if I'm correct, and it's sending out a broadcast oscillation pattern that's fucking with our Schumann resonance, which therefore fucks with our mind and our ability to see the flip book of motion. Can the aliens slip in between the refresh rate to where they can't be seen by our optical sensors unless a different frequency is established, like a bell might create? If you make a UFO with a bell shape where the plasma drive inside resonating it, and that bell then creates a resonance, not only can the ship fly on the resonance, but maybe, just maybe, there's some other technology at play where you're decloaking your enemy, kind of a thing too.
Yeah.
And what might the implications of something like that be? If you're part of the religious zealotry of Catholicism or Judaism or anything, Islam, and that goes so far against your radicalized worldview within the construct of your religion that you have to patently reject it, that becomes a weapon that the people that worship the space aliens truly can use against the entire population. And if the Germans were really the guys that found out how to create the tools to break that matrix, how much of a propaganda campaign would go against those very people that created the path forward technologically to combat these motherfuckers?
Yeah. It
There's
would
a
also make
reason why.
sense why Elon talks about going to Mars and has the satellite system and all of that. I mean, all of that changes.
There's part of this whole weird theory that I've brandished on you in the past, where I think Mars, there's a good chance that's where the Aryan people originated from, our home world, you know, that was destroyed in an ancient war. Why did the Germans look at the Aryan culture like they did? Because it's their root culture. It gets us back to Mars and whatever the fuck happened there. The ancient records that they disseminated, the Hermeticism that comes along with the Aryan people. It's a whole cultural framework for how to look at mysticism, for how to look at discipline, for how to look at the inner jihad. Islam even goes and looks at the jihad, and they demonize the word. Whereas it's actually an Aryan concept. It's a concept of war with yourself. You're at jihad with yourself. You're at war with your inner demons. It's the most holy of holy things that you can do, because you're bettering yourself by using your external environment as the stimulus to do so. You know, like that's your inner jihad. Of course,
they would make that word negative.
Yeah. Even the word, hate to say it, but like feudalism. And I think the system of fascism, people hate that word. I don't think we really understand what fascism really is in terms of the way it was extolled in the ancient world, the structure some of it might have created. And it's not to say that it's a good system for the modern world either. I'm not ever going to argue. I don't know at this point enough about what those governing forces were in the old world to where I could ever go prescribe anything like that. But for people just to blanket term everything bad and evil in the world, well, that's fascism. It's not the case. It's a deeper study that needs to be done within the context of what that word means. And a lot of it has to do with the whole population being bound together as one. And we just won't go there with that word, but it's enough for people to contemplate the motives of the Nazis might not have been so outrightly evil to begin with. But in the fashionable way that a war unfolds, there are things to consider here. You know, Hitler famously, all throughout the 30s, peace treaty, peace treaty, peace treaty, peace treaty. He tried the best he could with FDR, with Churchill.
That's wild to think of, because you don't hear those stories, you know.
All he did was draft peace treaties to avoid war. But if you're going against the demiurge, it seems like that's what afflicted the leadership in the United States, and that's what afflicted the leadership in Britain, was the demiurge. Not necessarily in Germany. What battle were they really fighting spiritually? These are things relating to the bell and the plasma drive and what's coming out now that we really need to examine. Patton himself, and this is one of those weird loose ends that I've talked to Jenny about too, where Patton, after the war had ended and he was touring Germany, he had a young JFK alongside him as his transcriber. He was a journalist at the time. JFK was like 20 years old, following Patton around, 1945 and 6 in Germany. And Patton is giving nothing but kind of like respectful and solemn anecdotes about like how he may have fought on the wrong side of the war and how he couldn't reconcile with that. And only after he
I remember you talking
with these eyes by touring Germany do you realize, holy shit, what a great man Hitler was. These are Patton's words, not mine. There's a reason why he was killed, you know. he was he was flying himself pretty as the only reason the Allies won was him. They had everything else, hook, line, and sinker. I think also Rudolf Hess played a part too. He flew into Britain, and I think he might be the one that gave the Enigma codes away that allowed the code to be broken. That's a whole thing. But Rudolf Hess is another. He was kind of like the second in command under Hitler.
Okay.
And there's a whole thing where he flew into Britain and parachuted down as one last ditch effort for a peace treaty. But what I think he was doing is he took himself, he parachuted right down into Parliament as it goes, took a biplane, avoided all of the fire, and then airdropped himself down into the Parliament and took himself into custody, basically, and nobody knows what happened to Rudolf Hess, as they say, oh, he got thrown away in prison for life. Well,
or
I think he may have been betraying the Reich. For some reason, there's a lot of this stuff that's still left unanswered, in my opinion. It's all speculation as to motive, but it's interesting to me that we're now at this point in time where Huntsville comes back onto the scene. So back to tying this to real life, Kurt Davis as this guy that was involved with the UFO program, because again, he knows how to engineer them. Not to mention, if you go back, to the time of, I didn't mean to knock my mic. But if you go back to the time of the Old West, like I started out talking about, where we have Charles Delshow. Charles Delshow is a reporter at the time. That's how we get all of these documentations with the little pictures of the drives. And here's another time. Here's another picture of Die Glocke.
Wow.
Which is, this. All the while we have Kurt Davis having headed up the Agamemnon Elektrizitats Gesellschaft, which is the local power company in Germany. It's the power brokerage company. Remember I showed you the look up so everybody can see. Here, I'll type it in.
Well, and while you're doing that, I'm going to show this, that they just, this was just in China, unveiling its first major findings about mysterious ghost particles. And it's that same kind of, this is where we saw the...
Back in the 1990s, astronomers started this.
This is where they were saying a circle that was actually shaped as a bell, and it started firing off lightning or whatever. So they go into that. And this is theirs, which looks like a reverse bell with that ball sitting in it.
Right.
So
some sort of magnetic sphere, perhaps, that acts against the contour of that shape. And so
sure. Message.
Yeah, it's a German word, so I just typed it in so you had the
perfect. Yeah.
So you could look up. So this is back in the 1800s. Back when Tesla was coming to Chicago and electrifying Chicago, and we were figuring out electricity from the ether. The Germans were doing the scientific experiments in Sonoran Desert with the bells during the Civil War period. Fast forward 30 years, they had this company, an electric company. Click on one of those images for me, if you would, Lisa.
Okay. And these look very similar to what Sabin Howard is just built in.
That's what we'll bring him into it, is yes. In fact. If you make it larger, what you have is like this very Venusian, bare-breasted goddess figure. She's got the olive branch crown that she's taking off and holding in her left. She's got the raging kind of fire hair. With holding a light bulb up.
Yeah, I couldn't see it on this one, but
she's riding a wheel atop a bell.
Uh-huh.
a dome of a bell.
Wheel. Hmm.
And this is in the 1880s.
Mm-hmm.
So Germany is in a really weird, interesting time developing whatever technology
And the
they
Mercury
are.
wings, her Mercury wings.
And she's got like kind of like a Pegasus wings, or I don't know the exact symbolism behind that.
I wonder if that ties into the Mercury.
But this ties into a lot of the things that we find with the V-Stag, with the Templars, and the Teutonics both. The Germans were more, if you remember the symbolism that they used, it was the Teutonic cross. This is what the Germans used all through the Reich periods, all through the First, Second, and Third Reichs, starting with Otto von Bismarck, concluding with Hitler. And that Teutonic cross being purveyed on all their regalia gave you the motive for their thinking. And you just need to go back and look at the Teutonic Knights' history to see about what they're about. And that's not what this show is going to get into. Again, there's a lot more discussion that needs to be had on these topics, I think, to really talk through what the motives of the Germans through all three Reich periods were. So, because correcting that record actually matters a lot for this next phase that we're going to go into with UFOs.
Sure.
Because they may have had the correct enemy identified all along, and it wasn't humans. And the people that fought the most about that may have been those people that we trusted the most through our history books: Winston Churchill, FDR, and of course, Stalin, which nobody really likes. They've found a way to demonize him because communism didn't take popular route in the United States like they wanted it to. But the space program itself was a big rebellious fuck you to be installed within our borders. It had Kennedy's buy-in, right? And all of a sudden you have two almost like competing secrecy arms, in my opinion. You have Huntsville, headed by people like Kurt Davis, who has been in exotic electricity engineering and plasma drives since the 1880s with the Allgemeine Elektrizitätsgesellschaft company. And whatever engineers led to the development of said, plasma technology all the way back to the Sonoran Desert in the Civil War period. The Civil War was being fought over on the East Coast. The Germans were over in the Sonoran Desert the entire time, engineering UFO derivative technology in the desert, right? Go figure. And so just having Huntsville there, just having bells at the heart of it. Remember, the bells were all stripped from the world after World War II. The evil side won. The bells were taken down so that you couldn't ring the bells to ward off the evil anymore. And so you look, in my opinion, you may not need to look any further than the people who really had it figured out, the Germans, who had magnetic propulsion drives built out of plasma core oscillators inside of a bell shape that created all this technology off planet. And it's just too much for people to take. They had, it's one of the reasons why I think disclosure has to happen at all with Trump. It's because it's make or break time. We got to get enough of the population savvy with these ideas so that we know who the enemy is, so that we can mount an offensive. Because you can't attack an enemy that you don't know is even there. You have to acknowledge them first, right?
Right.
So this is all very interesting, like context that I think, like I said, Jenny and Cliff kind of didn't quite get a lot of these topics out there. But you see the pieces that I'm talking about: bell shapes, plasma, demonic spiritual beings being at the site of those, having harmonization, cymatic frequencies to defend against those, to create propulsion systems, to break the mind control. And you have history going all the way back to World War II, where you've got German scientists being installed in Huntsville, modern day scientists going missing who have lineages back to Huntsville. And you have Trump unveiling all the signaling that he is on a daily basis, just dishing out all the symbolism and steganography. Can you pull up when King Charles visited the U.S.?
Yeah.
And a picture of the bell that he gifted Trump with? This is very significant too.
Let me see. Here's a good one. Oh, it's a video. Darn it. I was trying to find a good image. Well, I'll just kind of jump around together. Let me
I'll
show this tab.
I'll just pull up a Twitter post with it if you want. Here, pull this one up. Or the one right on the right-hand side there. Do you see the King Charles gifts Trump World War II submarine bell? You see the one that you have pulled up there?
Yeah,
maybe you can just zoom in.
It's a video.
Just zoom in on the image. That's all we need is. Yeah. So when King Charles was in town, he gifted Trump with this bell. And this is significant. It has his name on it, and they said it was from the front of a ship with bearing the same name that was commissioned in 1944. Well, things can have two meanings. We know this. It's funny to me that it's gifted to him in the age that we're in, the UFO disclosure period, and that it specifically mentions 1944 because 1944 is the presumed date of completion for Diglocka, the Diglocka project, and it's interesting that happened in 1944 because all of a sudden the war kind of started to taper off at that point. And it's my supposition that a lot of the Germans actually had to get away with the technology that they had intact. This goes back to Patton and his tour of Germany too. You can corroborate this by the journal entries that JFK kept and by way of the journal entries that Patton kept and the ones that kind of intercede in the middle. And there's actually a famous encounter where JFK is following Patton around Germany like he is, and they go into the Alps, into what used to be big production facility for all sorts of different machines that the Germans were making during the World War II period. And what they'd done, Lisa, is they'd carved out these caverns inside the Alps that were hot. That you could put a skyscraper in there. They'd carved out so much rock. So how the fuck they did that? He was like, what the hell? What were these people capable of? Just the fact that they could carve out this big cavern under the Alps. You couldn't see it with satellite or overhead imagery or anything. That's where their production facilities for U-boats and UFOs and exotic airplanes and all sorts of shit that they would make. And you could also see the remnant of the machinery that used to make them. He was commenting on how massive and how impressive this factory must have been when everything was there. But there's a weird thing that you start to realize when you start to think through this. Okay. And because he starts to think they must have started to decommission this and get it out of Germany starting in 1944. There's a non-zero chance, in fact, a very likely chance, in my opinion, if you tie all this together, 1944 is the year that they start decommissioning all of their war machine manufacturing facilities. Just doing that and getting it somewhere. Think about it. If you have the equivalent of a city inside of the mountain to make whatever machines that the Nazis were capable of, the effort that it would take to deconstruct an entire city's worth of equipment and get it somewhere.
They did it once before, right? Tartaria and all that. Wouldn't that be the same kind of thought?
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know if the technology was developed well enough, but they very least got it on ships and got it down to Argentina and Antarctica, right? As the story goes. because we encountered them in 1947 with Admiral Byrd, and they'd already developed a bunch of saucers that kicked the whole fleet's ass when, you know, Admiral Byrd went down with a flotilla of 3 aircraft carriers. That was after the war, 1947. But Patton's talking about it in 1945, that they must have been at this for a while to decommission all the equipment and get it off somewhere. And what might they have been capable of building in this facility, right? And, you know, JFK's sitting there writing down the story. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. But 1944 might have been the year that the Nazis left the war. This is what I've always argued. They didn't actually lose anything. They stopped participating. It became trivial for them to keep fighting because their technology overcame whatever, you know, the Allied forces could throw at them. So they just stopped fighting. They decommissioned. They put a contingent of forces on the front lines to look like the auspice that the war was still going on as a distraction, so that they could get away, so that they could go to Argentina, go to Antarctica, build whatever they needed to build out of the sight of prying eyes, because they had bigger fish to fry. They got to get back to the moon. They got to go fisticuffs with these selenite fuckheads up there, right? They know who the real enemies are. I think this is very plausible. But this is all divulged to Patton in the following years of the war. And then he dies. Trump, as a tie-in to Patton, a lot of people are of the mind that Trump might actually be the actual blood of Patton, the actual son of Patton, given to the Trumps to be raised. And I'm in that camp. I think that's probable, especially with all these other weird trappings alongside it. But it's meaningful that we have this bell, the very shape that needs to be rung in order to break the spell, in order to break the frequency matrix we're in, the 1944 callback to this very consequential time. And it's being ritualized by the king when he comes to town in this weird, who knows if the king even gifted him with this, or if he just went up to the podium and was told that this is what he brought. It's more likely, in my opinion, that Trump already had this ready to go and said, you're going to give this to me as a gift. You're going to read this script when you go up on the podium. Yeah, and
I think the royals have been, out taken care of for a long time now.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is all very interesting, right? The other thing about this was the same day that Trump unveiled this bell, the White House posted on their page this tweet. Embrace the penguin. Penguins live in Antarctica. That's the only place that they live. I can't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, dogs and things.
It's okay.
And people. The other thing that happened around this time was also they were talking about the switch, turning on the switch, and Tux, which is the penguin, which is a software system, and I'm misdefining that perfectly, but it's like, like they use like C+ or whatever, like it's a language like that, and it's called Tux, and their little mascot is the penguin in the Tux. So maybe that was the change of the frequency, using a different language. All of that sounds like, resonance language.
Steganography.
So
it's the funny thing about steganography too. I'll get there in a second, but a lot, it's written into this codex called the Steganographia, and signaling and what it means to the Hermetic sciences to embed steganography in things.
Okay.
I'll get there in a second, but it's not any other coincidence other than there's this thing every year. It's called the Antarctic Treaty Consultative Meeting, where all the countries, all the host nations that do anything in Antarctica all meet to discuss whatever goes on down there, right? And this year, in May, it was held in Hiroshima, Japan. The spot where World War II effectively ended with the atom bomb. So the punishment that's gone into Japan too. Japan finally broke free and said, fuck you to the London banking system after 80 years too. They were one of the first ones
to leave
to uncouple the carry trade in the financial side of things. They hosted the Antarctic Treaty this year, the treaty meeting, consultative meeting. You have bells being broadcast by Trump himself. Patton's son? Question mark. Sympathizer with the Germans? Question mark. There was this clip back before Trump was running for president. He took this interview in Trump Tower. And this is kind of a betrayal of where his roots are. He said in the interview, they were asking him about, where he derives some of his acumen or whatever from in his business. He's like, well, I've got that wonderful German blood, that powerful, wonderful German blood. It runs in me.
Interesting, because he usually talks about his Scottish roots.
He usually talks about his mom's side with the Scottish, with the Scottish heritage. He more talks about Scottish heritage.
Okay.
Than he talks about it being their blood, his blood, though. If you look at things, right? And Patton was always, we've killed our brothers. We've killed our own. He was even solemn about that before he became wise to what was going on with the two sides being played against each other after the war. Even in his journals of killing, he would pray to kill as few people as possible the next day because he was killing his brothers out there on the battlefield. Those with Aryan history. So I don't know. There's a lot to unpack here, obviously, where people truly, if you're not with the Saturn control matrix, remember the disclosure, what we talked about in the last episode, the Disclosure Day movie even had the Saturn shape over Emily Blunt's eye in the movie poster. We have bells coming into the spectrum in the money side of things just the last couple of days, which we'll get to also in a sec. But I want you to bring up Sabine Howard's sculpture that's going to be in Utah first.
Let's see if I can find a good image. My dog is snoring. Sorry.
That's all right.
They don't have a good image. Let me go find him on X, and then I can share his.
I could probably help you out with that. Here, I'll get to it here. Oh, here it is. I found it.
Did you find his latest?
Yep,
oh, here it
you
is.
go.
Share this tab instead. So this is the, let's see, it's a 6-foot version of what will be in Utah. And this is the one that he took to London for the ARC meeting. And you notice a lot of the similar things to the imagery from, wait till they turn around. There's the circle up there. But
there's the Liberty Bell there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't.
There's the Liberty Bell specifically.
Yeah. And then.
And Lady Liberty appears 6 times, leading the charge on all of these scenes. You'll see Lady Liberty pop up right there. pulling the front of the chains.
And then here, there's that circle or portal.
And there's the circle. Yeah, Lady
That's,
Liberty pulling it with the chains.
That he said is a wagon wheel.
The wheel to symbolize the expansion westward. Weird. Well, it could mean, what was also westward. It was the Nimza German science programs in the Sonoran Desert. So this is a casting, like we said earlier, of an actual monument that's going to go up. It's the scale of the people is like 4 times higher than an actual person. So each one of those statues that you see is like 4 times the size of a real human.
Well, not this.
Just got to
In the final version of it, the one that's going up in Utah.
Yeah.
Utah's noteworthy, like we talked about too, because Utah was the very first state in 2017. I think it was 2017. That legalized. No, I think it was earlier in 2017. I think it was maybe in like 2014 or something. But either way, they were the first state to legalize gold and silver as legal tender.
And it says E pluribus unum, which is what is on the new bell that just came out of the mint. That's $750 for a half an ounce, and it says E pluribus unum.
Well, we also have this too. The tie into the UFO program and the kayfabe that can go on here. John F. Kennedy, the Memorial Center for John F. Kennedy, had Trump's name on it. I think it was just the funniest fucking thing where Donald Trump put his name on the Kennedy Memorial Center for a while. Yeah. Did you see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
And then they had to remove it because the judge made him remove it. But it was just a big fucking troll anyway. But in my opinion, it was there to show the bridge of the power structure of the Kennedys that was still always intact. And underneath of which we all have this weird Q and JFK Jr. association. Is it that power is being handed back to the Kennedy side of things, who were, remember, JFK walking alongside Patton in the aftermath of World War II. JFK himself, in his own journals, came to have an affinity for the respect that he carried for Hitler. Brought over the paperclip scientists in the manner in which he did, housed them in Huntsville. Kurt Davis, the UFO scientist who was a chief scientist on the Bell, headed up the UFO desk, headed up as the president of the Kennedy Space Center. The missing scientists of the present day, being a lot of them involved with plasma. Amy Eskridge specifically coming from Huntsville. Cliff talking to Heidi about the demons that come into, or not Heidi, but Jenny, about the demons that come into the realm around plasma. Jenny having this fascination about breaking the spell with bells. All of it comes together at the heart of the physics of these breakaway Germans. And I mean, what are we really living through right now? We've showed the FIFA stuff, the NBA championship just ended. What happened with the NBA championship? The Villanova trio, the 3 players from Villanova who won the NCAA basketball championship 10 years ago. They just won with the Knicks. And it's all this reverse ritual stuff with the sports and with Oliver Tree getting in a helicopter crash. Ties back to what you and I talked with the Barcelona chick, with the Siemens CEO and the Barcelona chick who died in the Hudson River in that helicopter crash, which had everything to do with our Intrepid Museum decode of what? Apollo 11, which Kurt Davis himself was the program director for.
Okay.
It's all here. It's all about Chronos, 88, Pier 88, the time ritual. It's about breaking the frequency matrix with bells, ? With plasma drives inside of bells.
That's where I think daylight savings time has a play in it. And and them trying to now Trump trying to remove that or talking about removing that. Because if we are, just that much off frequency, and also in time, then of course we could never find that frequency, because it's like sticking your hand in a river and then trying to find the same drops of water 2 seconds later, sticking your hand in the same river. It's not there. So I could see that being part of the undoing of this.
You remember even in the Miami Mall incident at the beginning of 25?
Was that the aliens there or whatever?
Yeah, where like 90 cop cars showed up.
Yeah.
All of the accounts that people were saying, they were saying that beings were just kind of like phasing in and out, like shadows. Like they were just out of view. You couldn't quite get a good viewing angle on these beings that were on approach, and people ran the fuck away because it scared them all to death. Because these beings were like warping in and out of reality is how all the explanations, all the firsthand accounts that were generated suggested. And so is it these beings? Were those beings in the mall and there was an oscillation effect, an anomaly that they didn't realize was going to affect them? Did somebody ring a bell, and so it fucked up their cloaking device or whatever the heck, right? Or did something that the sun did cause the oscillation effect to get thrown off? These artifacts in our popular culture, we gotta keep tabs of and come back to them and examine them, I think, as this war progresses, because we're in it now. I'm pretty convinced that we're just in the war that was started 80 years ago.
Oh, I think it never ended. Yeah.
I think we in earnest with the Germans, I think we initiated some shit again. I think that's what fucking happened. I think that's what the Germans have been doing. And I'll bet you that we're in support of that in our highest ranks in the military. Because the goal is the same. Those Germans went somewhere. They didn't go start another country and start trying to take people over again. Everybody's always worried about it's the ideology that they left. Oh my God. And where are they?
They came here though. And that was through paperclip.
A lot of them did.
NASA,
a contingent of them did, but not by any means all of them. That's what Argentina and then Antarctica were there for. They called it New Schwabenland. The area in Antarctica that they occupied, they designated it New Schwabenland.
Interesting.
New Berlin, inside of New Schwabenland, under the ice. There are maps that you can go pull up that show how the U-boats could navigate the under the sea ice tunnels that they made right into the fucking glacial system. And it's shown in a lot of these investigations that they're under the ice was a whole new city that was started up. The breakaway Germans began a different initiative down there. They no longer interacted with the rest of the world. They had some other thing that they were focused on. And it's my argument that it was
connecting.
It was our enemies in space that they on behalf of all of humanity, perhaps. If we think about this in the right way, none of these loose ends are tied up. None of them. So these aren't declarations. They're just suppositions of what might be, Yeah.
It's very interesting to kind of play through the VSTEG and history and kind of put these dots together and see, are we really being told, which I think we all believe we're being told a different story, but it's a key to help unlock some of what might be an alternate truth. So.
Well, let's close it out by bringing out what we started talking about with what everybody is probably aware of, at least for the monetary aspect of. But
so let's see if I can find
just yesterday, more bells dropped into the news, as if the bell theme weren't enough.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll pull this up. Should be the right page. There we go. So these hit the U.S. Mint, and you can go to the usmint.gov website and see them for yourself. They will not be for sale until July 16th. But this is a
to be correct, I think they're available for pre-sale. I think they just won't be delivered until shipping won't go out until July 16th. Is that right?
I don't know. I saw that they weren't available
okay.
But I don't know. We have to go to the Mint. I guess we could go right now and see. USMint.gov. Oh, there goes the dogs again. And notice that the symbol for the 250 is the bell. Also scheduling the, got to bring that in, Oh, all the dogs going to go nuts. Sorry, guys. I can't do anything about it. And even on the back of the American Classics, like it would be, I guess, a Walking Liberty or Morgan and Peace, they're putting the bell. That's interesting.
Well, other than an eagle, the bell is the only other thing that's been on the back of an American half dollar. The Benjamin Franklin half dollar has the Liberty Bell on its tails side.
Okay.
And it has a little eagle. It has a little eagle like relief next to it. But the bell it's other than the eagle. That's the only thing that's ever been on the back of an American half dollar.
Well, there we go.
United States.
Let freedom ring, Liberty Bell. These are the bells that we were talking about that were just announced.
Yeah.
Yesterday, available July 16th. So I don't know what, to me, that means you can't order them until then, but
yeah,
who knows? So they do have Liberty 1776 to 2026, Liberty, all coming soon and limited. And you will see the price. This is a 1/2 ounce, 1/2 ounce silver for $750. And you're seeing the 1/2 ounce gold is 10,000. Freedom ring 1 ounce gold is 20,000. Now, if you follow Road to Ruta, and of course, little Judy Shelton and her work through Money Meltdown, her book, they talk about, and she has letters from Nixon praising her with the idea of revaluing the gold. And I do not think, my argument is that even our gold and silver currently cannot be trusted. There was an article out recently that I talked about on a show one day that talked about that the majority of the gold in Fort Knox is not of the quality that would be allowed to trade. It's not market value or not.
Yeah, it's coinage. It's 90% coinage instead of, yeah.
I don't know.
It's cut with copper. It's 90% gold, 10% copper is what they're saying that is why. Okay.
It didn't have the quality. So the only way to me that can be corrected, because we know that gold and silver are constitutionally money for America, but the way that you validate it is you tokenize it. You use blockchain and you tokenize the gold, you validate it and put it on blockchain so it can be trusted, and the transparency so it can be tracked. So we truly know the scarcity of gold and silver, and we get rid of no derivatives. There's not third parties, all of that. And I think that's the way, Bix and I have been talking about it since COVID came out, and they came out with the ITM machines. And I did a little video on that and talked about, because Bix was talking about how each piece of metal has its own fingerprint almost, or own,
yeah, the Honeywell technology that he was talking about.
Yeah, that they can identify each individual. And so that could be put on a blockchain, that information, and you could tokenize that coin or metal with that tokenization and then trade digitally. So it's all there. The ITMs can read the little, the Honeywell technology right in the ITMs. But I think there will be the revaluing. It's like they're announcing it right here, because otherwise who in the world would buy that? If you can,
it's a bell. It's the bell to break the evil frequency of the money,
Yeah. The irony. It's all there.
It's pretty
right
good
in front of us. Yeah. So that was my favorite thing. And then on the back side, I guess there is a clock tower. And it It has the 10 and
Yeah.
2. And so the
It's
little
the- it's what it is it's Independence Hall, which has a clock tower on it. Independence Hall is where the Declaration of Independence was signed. And there you go. And the clock tower is
and if you zoom in
right on there.
You're at 10 and 2. So there you go. A little keck to all the Q peeps. It's pretty wild to be living through this, but I'm grateful. Pretty exciting.
Anybody knows the fact that it's at 10 and 2 is curious in and of itself, because on an actual clock, you would never be able to get the hour hand exactly at 2 and the minute hand exactly at 10.
Really?
You would never be able to do that. It's not possible.
Very interesting. So,
well, think about it. You would only ever get the hour hand exactly on 2 if it were exactly 2 o'clock.
If it was 2 o'clock.
And
yeah, you're right.
The minute hand would have to be pointing at 12 in order for that to be the case.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
So that it's at 10 and 2 means it's even more.
It's placed.
It's even more purposeful that it was encoded that way. In my opinion.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. Well, I love it. I love all of the storytelling. I love the history and the facts that you bring in, and tying.
This is a deep one, Lisa. Like this one requires it, like I was telling you, it would be great to get Jenny's chiming in.
Yeah.
With the cards at some point on stuff like this, because we could validate it at least as far as her intuitive, knowing goes with what she can read from the cards. And I think that's a valuable exercise to sussing through some of these things that we can only speculate on until we figure out other avenues to look at them,
Yeah.
So
very interesting.
If you're listening, Jenny, let's talk about the bells and the plasma a little bit more. I think you'll have
text her and ask her if she's up for it. I'm going to be traveling next week. Or getting ready to travel for the big Westwood weekend in Metamora, Illinois. This weekend's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Grateful for all of you. And next weekend we will be in Metamora, Illinois, and we'll be having a meetup. I believe it's happening at Sue's on Friday, is the last I heard. So that should be fun. And we'll be doing all kinds of fun stuff, giveaways. I'm also going to be doing a kind of a little tutorial about joining VTest app. There's information in the description of this video. Our buddy Skullcap has joined, and he's starting a creators layer tier, and you'll be able to get some of his content there, and also be able to post messages or questions or whatever, however he sets that up. In the future, I'm getting ready to, hopefully I'm going to be able to launch my store tomorrow on vtest.app, vetest.app. And if you go to my creator profile up at the top, there's some tabs, and one of them says store. And I'm loading like almost 1,400 items in there. So getting close. I'm getting close. And it'll be kind of exciting. If you join vetest.app, and there's a thing when you come in and when you first sign up to create your account, you just need an email and make up your own password. And then when you come in, it'll ask you how you heard about VE Test. And if you choose LTC Lisa, then you will get 10% off of my store in perpetuity. If you mention that I was the way that you heard about vetest.app. So check that out. Make sure you sign up, and you should be able to, even before you connect your wallet, which we're going to be doing a tutorial tomorrow with Joshy Lake. He volunteered, I asked him. Kind of asked him and pushed him, but he's agreeing to be so we're going to try to mirror it and walk through the whole sign up, which is very simple, but I just want to show it to people so they're not intimidated by, wait, where am I going? What's this going to be like? It's literally just create an account, email, password, confirm password, and then you connect a wallet. And there's a couple different wallets that you can use. Base wallet works great, and MetaMask works as well. And there might be some others now. They're always doing more developing over there. So we'll do that tomorrow afternoon. And and then we'll have.
I'll have to join. So because Josh
Yeah.
is going to be on, right?
Yeah, that would be fun. And then happy hour later tomorrow night. Sounds like they're getting ready for dinner in there. I better get going.
Hey, we beat dinner to the punch today.
I
Didn't we?
know.
Look at us.
Usually I get the text, dinner is ready. Get off.
Carly doesn't have to hate me today because he got his wife back for dinner.
I never hate you. All right. Well, you guys have a great day. And Ben, we'll hope maybe we can get Jenny on here the week after next or something. No, then
Yeah,
we'll
that'd be
do
fun.
California together. Well, maybe we'll do it from there.
Oh, that'd be easier. Yeah, because you're gonna be in the same spot for
Yeah.
Bix's birthday. So
yeah, maybe that'll be fun. All right. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye.